I want to move out to Wibrin and start comparing 3 Sherman tanks with a similar story, the Clairvaux, Wilds and Wibrin Sherman, which all have a genuine movie-like shootout happen during the battle, but only one of them never happened, and that's the one most people know about, the Sherman at Wibrin. Of course, the Wibrin Sherman is the eye-catcher of these 3, with being half a Sherman and having recognizable battle damage. But let's compare, and for this one I only want to focus on the Clairvaux and Wibrin tanks. The story of the Wild Sherman will be in the description below.
I remember it well, because it was especially cold that day. We were assigned to the castle's gate, and since we had some Sherman tanks, we were actually one of the lucky ones. I remember one of the tanks was commanded by a handsome fella named William Murta. The vehicle took up position at the gate, and from there it shot at the attacking German columns. It would seek cover behind a house and move in and out of cover after firing a shot. But in the overwhelming chaos, the tank was hit. I remember that one shot grazed the tank, until it would eventually back up against the house, and the tank was hit several times more. Shots violently bounced off. The crew panicked and bailed out. We tried to get the tank back, but we eventually failed, and the tank was later destroyed by 2 shots to the gun and turret. It was especially bad here in Alamont and Nadrin. We were attacked by several Panther tanks, and we already lost several tanks of our own. One of our tanks took up position in Wibrin. From there, it would take fire upon German columns. It was eventually spotted by a Panther tank, and the Sherman was hit several times. First shots violently bounced off. One shell damaged the gun after bouncing off the front of the tank. After that, the crew bailed out. They tried to get the tank back under heavy fire, but it was impossible. The Sherman would eventually be left to its fate and would be destroyed.
As you can see, the Wibrin Sherman has a pretty similar story. Still, some sites tell different variants of this story, but they all come down to the same plot point, and that's that the gun was damaged or destroyed in battle. What we can say is that the multiple variants told here are partially true. What actually happened is the following. The tank was involved in some kind of shootout, the gun misfired and the crew bailed out. But before they abandoned the Sherman, fearing it would fall into enemy hands, the crew fired the barrel in compressed state, destroying the gun. This doesn't mean that it would be destroyed in a manner you can see today at the front of the tank. The gun would be just stuck in recoil and would be out of commission. The evidence of this can be clearly seen on the inside, because the gun is still stuck in that position. It's not known when the damage was done to the front of the tank, but since the crew had time to sabotage the gun, it's unlikely that the kill shots on the vehicle today were done when they were still inside. The last part of the story often told is that the local priest saved the Sherman by buying the tank from the scrappers with some sort of liquor. This is all partially true, because in reality this was all done by a mayor of a local town in this area that wanted to save a vehicle for future generations and local tourism. And with the help of a local priest he found this Sherman at a scrapyard. The blown up gun we see now was still intact in the mid-1950s. The gun was later blown up by the Belgian army by detonating a shell that was stuck in the barrel. This is where the damage we see today comes from, and not from a shootout with enemy vehicles. All of this is mentioned in the book Steel Witnesses by Hughes Wenking and Christian Dujardin. Of course, the Wibrin Sherman isn't the only false story told in this region. It's the same for the Tiger in La Glace, the Panther in Celles and Grand Menil, and for the 2 Sherman tanks in the Bastogne War Museum.